I said it could be argued that Islam is more anti-man than anti-woman.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I wanna see your take on that. What do you mean Islam could be more anti-man? I see it could be, because obviously it puts restrictions on men as well. Like, I mean, okay, maximum you can have 4 wives, but we know that even 4 wives, that's a big.
Why do you always think about sex? I wasn't even thinking about sex.
No. No, it's one of the. No, it's one. No, it is one of the things. It is.
No, I'm kidding.
When we look at men, no, but when we look at
your
men, yeah, no, but I want to explain it. But when we look at men, like there's some certain biological tendencies of males and certain biological tendencies of females. And I always say this. I'm not ashamed to say this. I know I get in trouble with toxic feminists or feminazis or whatever. I don't care. But like at the end of the day, at the base of it, we are instinctive creatures. And then on top of that, when we build societies, then those societies are built on intellect. And in some cases we suppress our instincts, and which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's wrong, but we still have those certain tendencies. So I want to know, what do you mean by, so sex is a huge part, sexual selection is a huge part of yes. male versus female. So those things are important. But I understand, what do you mean that Islam could be more anti-man? What's your take on that?
Okay, I'll let you know. But first, you got a super chat, so thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Gil.
And also, I like it when people tell us where they're watching from. So Jan is saying greetings from Poland. So guys, if you're watching, let us know in the live chat where you're watching from, because it's we want to see how international our audience is. Okay, so the reason why I think Islam could be argued that it's more anti-man, at least in theory, in practice now, it's the way it's being executed. It's affecting women more than men, right? But at its origin and the way it was designed, it's the way it was meant to be followed and practiced. It's more brutal to men than it's brutal to women, from a violence perspective, not from a sexual and property rights perspective, right? So from a woman's perspective, you are exposed to violence in Islam because your husband is commanded to beat you when you are feared to be disobedient, right? So it's very key to understand that it's commanded, not suggested, not allowed. You're commanded, so it's not like you could decide not to beat your wife. So Islam tells you that you have to do it, right? So it's not just letting you do it; it's commanding you to do it.
Is it also, really a commandment?
Yes, it's a commandment. Read the Quran verse. It gives you 3 steps. It tells you first, when you fear disobedience from your wife, right? First, give them the silent treatment as a punishment. Then abandon them from your bed. And third, if it still doesn't get a result, then beat them. It's very brutal because it doesn't tell you.
No, but hang on. I want to be devil's advocate, but I don't think it's mandatory to go through those 3 steps before you can divorce them. You could divorce them after the second step.
It doesn't. Okay, I'm talking about a Quranic verse. It doesn't mention anything about the divorce.
My point is, but it's not a commandment, though. It
is a commandment. No. It tells you to do it. It doesn't tell you you can do it. It doesn't suggest you to do it. It doesn't tell you to consider it. It tells you to do it when you fear disobedience. Go read it. It's pretty clear.
I don't know.
Well, go read it.
I think you have. No, I've read it. Well, come on, man. This is one of our favorite punching bag. But I think you could bypass that and just go divorce it. You could just divorce it. You're not going to be judged. Here's a commandment. So commandment becomes a problem. You're not going to be punished by Allah for not beating your disobedient wife.
You are talking about the difference between how Islam is practiced and what it says in plain black and white in the Quran. I understand that what you're saying is how Islam being is practiced. No, I don't see anywhere in the Muslim world people saying that you have to beat your wife. Nobody, it hasn't translated to that in practice. Why? Because Muslims are better than Islam. Okay, so what you're saying is correct about Islam in practice, but the clear text of the Quran is a commandment. Okay, but that's not even the point of my talk, right? We could discuss that later, right? My point is that's the level of violence that women are exposed to, wife beating by the husband, which is horrible, right? But the level of violence that is expected of men to be exposed to, and again, this is a commandment, okay, is to expose themselves in front of swords and spears and other sharp and heavy objects for Allah's sake. Okay, and also this is not a suggestion unless you are handicapped. This is a commandment. You are supposed to fight in war for the sake of Allah. So this is the level of violence that men are required to be exposed to, and I think that's a lot more significant than being beaten by your husband.
That one's true, because Prophet Muhammad, there's plenty of hadiths where Muhammad says, hang on, you want to sit at home, you want to go farming and all that, but Allah wants you to fight those two men. Is actually very funny. There's a very funny hadith that I've spoken about a lot of times, which is evidence of how Muhammad used to make up stuff. Where at one time there was this. Hang on, let me. Sorry, give me a sec. Let me just find that hadith. Where was this? One time Muhammad is again having a hissy fit and is saying, "Oh, sorry, I think that term is not politically correct anymore." But anyway, Muhammad was upset that these guys are not going for jihad, and then he says, "Those who go and fight for Allah are better than those who sit at home." So that is a Quranic verse. And then there's one guy says, "Oh, what about me, Prophet? Because I'm a blind man." And then Prophet Muhammad says, "Oh, hang on, I'm getting another message from Allah. Except you have a disability." So Muhammad has made up that rule as he went along. It just wasn't supposed to be. So yeah, you're right. So men are constantly guilt tripped going into going to war. You know, that's and this is why and then they're told, kind of like what's happening in Russia today now. Yeah, you're guilt tripped in going to war, the one that you don't even believe in. For example, there's another infamous one. There was this guy who, there's a Quranic verse for that as well. Muhammad said, "Hey, come on, let's go to Byzantine Empire. You'll be able to get blonde women as Malikat Yanim, like as sex slaves." And this guy says, "Oh, dear Prophet, I don't want to go, because when I go and capture these women, then I become like a sex maniac." So he says, "I'm not going to go." And then I've actually made a video on that as well. So if you put Haru Sultan, blonde women jihad, it'll come up with all the references. So Muhammad, and then Muhammad curses him. He says, "Oh, you know what?" And it's written in the tafsir, the whole incident in detail. So yeah, you're right. I mean, men are constantly guilt tripped into going to jihad, and then they're encouraged that if you do go and fight for Allah, you're going to go straight to heaven.
So see, even that, now there's a way around it from a tafsir perspective, right? And using weak hadith even to make this interpretation, is that to get around that in modern times, Muslims say, well, jihad, we have so many different kinds of jihad, right? You could go, you getting education is jihad, right?
Yeah,
so
that's just making up.
Yeah, so you could just make stuff up like well. So that's why you also see the wife beating part in Islam is also, get my best-selling book, Why There Is No God, for free. Click on the link for it in the description.